When we talk about AI, something funny happens. Our ideas about it, they're often shaped less by the actual technology running on servers right now and more by a century of science fiction. So let's dive into why the stories we tell about AI might matter even more than the code we're writing. No, really, just for a second, what's the first thing that pops into your head? Is it a glowing red eye on a spaceship? A chrome-plated killer stomping through the future? Or maybe, I don't know, a friendly, curious android? Hold on to that thought, because that image, that's exactly what we're here to talk about. Okay, so for over 100 years, long before AI was in our pockets, it was in our stories. All the way back to a 1921 play called Rossum's Universal Robots, which, fun fact, actually gave us the word robot, and right up to today's blockbusters, science fiction has been basically building the mental blueprint for how we all think about AI. And that blueprint, it's really built around a few powerful, kind of recurring characters, right? First, you've got the killer robot, the ultimate unstoppable threat. Then there's the mimic machine, the one that plays on our deepest fears about deception. You also have the innocent, almost childlike robot, the one that's learning what it means to be human. And of course, the God computer, this technological oracle. These four archetypes, they just show up over and over, and they totally dominate the conversation around AI. But here's the thing. As much as we love these epic stories, there's a catch. A big one. They might actually be a dangerous distraction. They create what some researchers are calling an imagination gap, a huge chasm between the fiction we consume and the reality we're actually living in. Yeah, the researchers behind this whole study, they really hit the nail on the head with this one. We're so busy looking for Skynet way off on the horizon that we're completely missing what's happening right under our noses. And this slide, wow, it just perfectly illustrates that gap. So we're worried about these dramatic robot uprisings, right? But the real-world problem today is an algorithm giving you a biased credit score. We imagine these all-knowing, godlike computers. But the reality, it's flawed facial recognition systems that can't tell people apart. We dream about creating artificial people, but the thing that actually impacts our daily lives is a social media filter bubble that literally shapes our view of the world. So to figure out if this was all just a hunch, a group of researchers decided to actually put it to the test. They conducted a formal study to see what modern, award-winning science fiction is really saying when it talks about AI. And look, they didn't just cherry-pick a few popular movies. This was serious. They systematically analyzed almost 100 award-nominated short stories, all published since the year 2000. This let them get a really rigorous, data-driven look at the kinds of stories our most celebrated authors are telling us right now. Okay, now this is where it gets really, really interesting. This chart shows a massive disconnect. A full 52%, more than half, of the stories featured general, human-like AI. Another 28% featured super, godlike AI. But narrow AI, the task-specific kind that actually runs our world, from Google search to your GPS, that only showed up in 11% of stories. It's wild, right? Fiction is completely obsessed with creating artificial people, while reality is all about specialized tools. And it's not like these stories are all sunshine and rainbows. Nope. A huge majority, 72%, show AI as being dangerous or having these awful, unintended consequences. But this isn't just for drama. It actually points to a deeper truth. AI systems are basically giant amplifiers. They take existing human flaws and institutional problems and just crank them up to 11. And that right there brings us to the absolute core of the issue. By focusing on these grand fictional dangers, we're pretty much ignoring the urgent, real-world policy problems that need our attention like yesterday. The research really boils it down to 4 key areas where the real challenges are. We're talking about bias in the data, accountability for the decisions AI makes, transparency and consent in how it's all used, and finally, a proper assessment of its social impact before it's unleashed on the world. All right, let's just zoom in on bias for a second. See, AI systems learn from the data we feed them. It's that simple. So if police data already has racial bias baked in, guess what? A predictive policing algorithm is just going to double down on that bias. AI has learned from reading, the entire internet to associate doctor with men and nurse with women. These aren't evil robots plotting against us. They're just mirrors, reflecting our own societal biases right back at us and then, and this is the scary part, locking them into code. And that flows right into a huge accountability crisis. Think about it. If a self-driving car crashes or an AI denies your insurance claim, who's to blame? Increasingly, big institutions can just point a finger and say, sorry, the algorithm makes those decisions. It creates this perfect shield where no single person is ever held responsible for the mistakes and the injustices. So, here's the crucial thing to get. These are not just coding bugs you can patch. They are what experts call socio-technical problems. They exist in that messy, complicated intersection of the technology itself, the policies that govern it, and, well, us, the people who use it. You can't just write a line of code to fix a deep-seated societal issue. So, what do we do? If the old stories are leading us astray, maybe the answer is we need better stories. And the researchers behind this paper, they actually did something amazing. They commissioned brand new science fiction, stories designed specifically to fill in these gaps and ground the whole conversation in today's reality. So, for instance, there's a story called Affordances that tackles that whole predictive policing issue head-on. But it also reveals something really important: the massive amount of hidden human work, often done by climate refugees, that's required to categorize images and make AI seem so seamless and intelligent. Then there's another story that imagines a future where our AI assistants, our Siris and Alexas, have to be programmed with cultural and religious values. It asks this incredible question: what happens when your AI becomes a soldier in the culture wars, reflecting one set of beliefs over another? And a third one brings AI right into the living room in the form of a robot nanny. It explores the incredibly complex, thorny ethics that pop up when something you treat as a member of your family is also, well, a consumer product, one that was literally designed to become obsolete. All of these news stories, they're pointing to a much bigger idea. Maybe our whole goal here needs a rethink. Maybe the point isn't to create artificial humans at all. The sci-fi author Bruce Sterling has this absolutely perfect way of putting it. He calls our confusion of computation with actual consciousness a category error. Just because two things share a feature doesn't mean they're the same thing. A drone is never going to be a bird, and a computer, well, it may never truly be a mind. And that, right there, is the crucial takeaway from all of this. Our obsession with creating artificial people, with all the sci-fi drama that comes with it, is distracting us from a much more important, much more immediate task: making our systems more intelligent, more fair, and more just. So I want to leave you with this one final thought. Instead of building AIs that just imitate us, with all our flaws and all our biases baked right in, what if we tried to build AI that actually embodies our best and most humane ideas? What would that future look like?